The emergency room went silent. A wounded Navy SEAL captain, covered in bandages and still recovering from surgery, slowly stood from his wheelchair. Doctors, nurses, patients, and visitors watched in confusion. Instead of saluting the hospital's famous chief surgeon, the decorated officer turned toward the newest nurse in the building, the young woman everyone had laughed at just days earlier. In his eyes, the captain raised his hand in a perfect military salute. "You saved more than my life," he said. "You reminded me what real courage looks like." Not a single person in the room could believe what happened next. 24-year-old Maya Carter had dreamed of becoming a nurse since she was a little girl growing up in a small town in Georgia. Her mother had worked as a nursing assistant, often coming home exhausted but always saying the same thing. "Kindness is the strongest medicine." Those words stayed with Maya. After years of studying, sleepless nights, and endless exams, she finally landed her first job at one of the busiest trauma hospitals in Chicago. She arrived early on her first day, her new uniform perfectly pressed and her name badge shining with pride. But not everyone welcomed her. Some senior doctors glanced at her resume and whispered, "Straight out of nursing school. She'll panic in her first emergency." Another laughed, "We'll spend more time fixing her mistakes than treating patients." Maya heard every word. It hurt, but instead of responding, she smiled politely and focused on learning. Her first week was difficult. She stayed late after every shift. She memorized medication charts. She checked every patient's blanket, water cup, and comfort before going home. Many patients remembered her name. Not because she performed miracles, but because she listened. An elderly veteran who had no visitors smiled whenever Maya entered the room. A frightened little boy stopped crying after she sat beside him and explained every machine in simple words. Even the cleaning staff noticed. That young nurse treats everyone like family. But inside the emergency department, respect still hadn't come. 3 weeks later, disaster struck. A military helicopter landed outside the trauma center. Paramedics rushed inside with multiple injured service members following a dangerous training accident. Leading the group was Navy SEAL Captain Daniel Brooks, one of America's most decorated special operations officers. He had protected countless lives overseas. Now his own life hung by a thread. The trauma team moved quickly. Broken ribs, severe blood loss, possible internal injuries. The hospital's best surgeons immediately took control. Maya was assigned only to assist. One senior doctor quietly muttered, "Stay out of the way." She nodded. As surgeons prepared Captain Brooks for emergency surgery, Maya noticed something unusual. His blood pressure continued dropping faster than expected. One of his hands had turned slightly pale. She checked his chart again, then looked at the monitor. Something didn't feel right. She remembered a lecture from nursing school about hidden internal bleeding caused by a rare arterial injury. Her heart raced. What if she was wrong? Everyone around her had years more experience. But what if she stayed silent? And the captain died? She took a deep breath. "Doctor." The room barely acknowledged her. She spoke louder. "I think he's bleeding internally near the pelvis. We should check immediately." One surgeon frowned. "We're busy." Another rolled his eyes. "The rookie is diagnosing Navy SEALs now." Maya almost stepped back. Then Captain Brooks's monitor suddenly alarmed. His blood pressure crashed. The lead surgeon immediately ordered another scan. Minutes later, the results appeared. Maya had been right. A hidden arterial bleed had gone unnoticed. Without immediate treatment, Captain Brooks would have died within minutes. The operating room became a blur of action. Surgeons repaired the damaged artery just in time. Hours later, the captain was alive. No one said much afterward. The doctors quietly returned to work. No apology, no praise, just silence. Maya didn't expect recognition. She simply thanked God that another family wouldn't receive a heartbreaking phone call. Several days later, Captain Brooks finally woke up. He learned everything that had happened. When the surgeon explained who first recognized the hidden injury, the captain asked only one question. "Where's Nurse Carter?" 1 week later, the hospital held a ceremony honoring the trauma team. Doctors stood proudly in white coats. Hospital executives thanked everyone for their professionalism. Maya stood quietly in the back of the room, almost unnoticed. Then the doors opened. Captain Brooks entered wearing his Navy dress uniform. Though still recovering, he walked with quiet determination. The room erupted in applause. The hospital director invited him to thank the medical team. Instead of walking toward the podium, Captain Brooks slowly crossed the room, past the chief surgeon, past every senior doctor, until he stopped directly in front of Maya. The room fell completely silent. Then, He stood perfectly straight, raised his hand, and gave her a formal military salute. Every doctor froze. I've served beside brave men and women around the world, Captain Brooks said. I've seen courage under fire. But courage isn't only found on battlefields. He looked directly at Maya. When everyone else doubted herself, she still chose to speak. She risked embarrassment to save someone she didn't even know. That decision saved my life. He lowered his salute. My team teaches that no one fights alone. Neither do nurses. Tears filled Maya's eyes. So did many others. Something changed in the hospital after that day. The same doctors who had mocked Maya now greeted her with respect. One quietly apologized. I judged you before I knew you. Maya smiled. We all keep learning. Even the hospital director introduced new training sessions encouraging every staff member, regardless of experience, to speak up whenever they noticed a patient safety concern. The hospital culture slowly transformed. Not because of rules, because of one nurse's courage.